Oh, what is up, you guys? My name is Blitz1, and welcome back to the long time coming back to My Furry Protogen. It's been since November of last year since I played this game. Not been intentional. It's just because I've just got a strange thing about visual novel-based games. I don't mind playing them for you guys. I don't mind playing them because I love the story. I love the graphics. I love the story. But at the same time, God, it's just me reading, and I just don't feel like reading. But I'm figured why not? I have a feeling we're getting close to the end of this game, so I wanted to. And there's the audio. Okay, and I wanted to get back to it. So I found Juno in the lab the next morning. Today, I knew would be the day of all days. Juno was visibly nervous. She got up before me, took a shower, and then immediately sat down in the laboratory. When I found her, she was standing at one of the devices, fully dressed and watching the numbers on the display that only she understood. I walked over and stood behind her, putting my hand on her back between her shoulder blades. Well, any progress? Juno sighed. She was extremely tense. I could feel her muscles tensing under my hand. Well, we'll know when the analysis is over. If everything worked out, then we have a cure. I'll give it to you right away, and then we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to give it to the whole planet. Juno nodded and gave me a weak smile. Correct. We need to do this at all costs, but this analysis will solve everything. Come on. There's no point in standing here. Nothing depends on you anymore. Ouch. Because I lean down a lot and it keeps cutting off my chin and down lower. I tried to lead Juno away, putting my arm around her shoulders, but she insisted on staying. No, I'll stay here. I don't want anything to go wrong with the computers. Besides, I can't think of anything else right now. I'd rather find the results as soon as possibly and tell you. I sighed, realizing that I wouldn't be able to argue now. When necessary, she was incredibly stubborn. There was nothing I could do about it. Okay, stay here. Do you mind if I take the jet and visit my village? I've been thinking about this for the last few months. For some reason, I felt that nothing good was waiting for me there, but I understood that I had to do it. It no longer mattered how my parents and the residents of the village would greet me. It didn't matter what they would say, whether they called me crazy. The most important thing was to save them and do everything in my power to do so. And if suddenly it didn't work out, I tried not to think about it. I didn't want to let dark thoughts take control over me, but I could completely banish these thoughts. I couldn't completely banish these thoughts from my head. After all, it was a possibility that we simply wouldn't be able to help anymore. Of course, I believed that Juno would invent the cure, but I understood by that time I would have to face heavy losses. Not everyone would survive this epidemic, and maybe my village wouldn't survive either. Therefore, my personal problems being the chosen, the resentment of the villagers against me, my resentment against them, seemed negligible now. And if it didn't work out, I just had to meet them to apologize and say that despite the escape, I still love them. Juno wasn't against my idea. When she heard my words, she just smiled and nodded. Of course. Be sure to go to your parents. I think they've missed you. I will tell them hello from you. Turning around, I headed toward the exit. Blitz. Juno's voice sounded strained. I turned around. Don't tell anyone about me or the cure yet, would you? I don't know what will happen. There's no need to give false hope in advance. Just visit them and that's it, okay? Juno was right. No matter how hard it was to admit it, I couldn't tell anyone about her. Definitely not now. After all, the future was still unclear. Would something come out of this analysis? Was there anything we could do? Okay, I get it. I'll be back soon. I still didn't know how to fly a jet. For me, it was real magic. It was easier to learn to move objects with the power of thought. But fortunately for me, Pixie, to whom I had managed to get used to and even become attached over the past few weeks, coped with this task perfectly. As soon as we flew up to the river and the bank in which I once met Juno, Pixie warned that it wasn't safe outside. Please, Blitz, Put on the protective suit that Juno gave you. I'm afraid the virus infection rate in this area is very high. I felt my heart stop in my chest. It shrank with horror for a moment. Was it really too late? Was it really too late? Was it too late already? I obediently put on the suit, waited with bated breath for the landing. The jet, to my surprise, flew almost all the way to the village and didn't drop me off at the river. What the fuck? When I stepped on the ground, I immediately saw that I was too late. My village, once a beautiful, wealthy place, lay in ruins. The grass underfoot was withered and blackened, and the trees stood bare, as if they had been devoured by flames. Here and there lay corpses of animals, livestock, wild animals from the forest, but as soon as I set foot in the territory of the village, the picture only got worse. There, behind the fence, the corpses of people were waiting for me. Cold goosebumps ran down my back, and my skin seemed to be covered with frost. I froze, looked at this terrible, tragic landscape in shock. People were lying everywhere on the ground, among the destroyed houses, among the corpses of animals. Our neighbors were there. Stefan was there, who sewed me a suit for my birthday. Damien was there. My teachers, girls with whom I once went on dates, elders, healers. My throat felt like someone else's hand was squeezing it. It became so hard to breathe I almost suffocated, as if something was stuck in my lungs. Everything lay in burning ruins. Almost all the houses were destroyed. I walked past dead bodies, pale with dried black blood at the mouth. Their eyes were fixed high into the sky, bleached white and cloudy. Nausea stirred in my stomach. I barely restrained the urge, but pulled myself together in time to run towards the house. I ran without taking apart the road. It was as if my legs were carrying me, although now it was almost impossible to distinguish the streets. Everything was equally destroyed. The smell of rotten flesh stuck in my nose. My heart was pounding furiously. Only one thought was beating in my head. If only I could make it. If only I could. If only. I didn't know who I was praying to. I didn't believe in any higher powers, but now my disbelief had receded, given way to stupid, confused prayers. Please, let Mom and Dad be okay. Let them wait for me. Let them see me. Let me see them once. I broke into our house. It was unusually quiet, cold, and lonely. The door was torn off the hinges, and all the decorations in the house were piled on the floor. It seemed like a tornado had passed through here. I'd never seen such a mess. My hands trembled. I only managed to push out, "Mom, Dad, it's me. Mom, Dad, are you here?" No one answered me. It was as if no one had been here for a long time. No life had left this place weeks ago. And life. Frost ran over my skin, chilled to the bone. Even through the suit, it was so cold in here. I went further into the house. When I got to my parents' room, I froze when I heard a strangled, wet cough. At that moment, I burst into the room and literally knocking out the already flimsy door. "Mom!" My heart sank into my heels. I saw my mom lying on the bed. She was pale as a sheet, as if all the blood had been drained from out of her. Her lips were blue. She was breathing raggedly, wetly. A dried trail of black blood was already trailing from the corner of her mouth. "Mom! Mom!" I fell on my knees in front of her, trying to wake her up, trying somehow to bring her to her senses. Her hand in mine was so cold that even though the protective suit, I could feel how icy it was. Son, is that you?" "Yes, Mom, it's me. I'm back. Do you hear me? I'm here with you." "What a joy. I'm so glad you're back. Where have you been, honey? Your dad and I have missed you terribly, terribly." She broke off with a hoarse cough. I jumped up from my seat and looked for a bowl of water, but then I realized the water must be from the well. And Juno said that everything was infected, including the forest, animals, and water. Returning to my mother's bed with nothing, I collapsed to my knees and squeezed her hand again. "Mom, I'm so sorry. What happened here? Where is everyone?" We were attacked by wild animals. They came running out of the forest as if distraught and began to destroy everything attacking us. We tried to defend ourselves, but it didn't work. It didn't work, honey. "Dad, where is he?" Mom looked at me with the white eyes. Once they were a completely different color, and her lips trembled. "Dad passed away." After these animals suddenly appeared, almost everyone in the village was infected with a strange ailment. Dad was helping the survivors, so he immediately fell down. I couldn't do anything, Blitz, anything. A tear rolled down her temple, and I suddenly realized that I was also sobbing. Tears were streaming down my face. It became difficult to breathe in the suit. The helmet was fogging up. But Mom didn't seem to see it at all. No strange clothes on me, no flashing lights. She looked me straight in the eyes, and that only made my heart hurt more. Sorry, Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I left. It is unforgivable. You were all right. I shouldn't have left. The prophecy came true, and then... Damn it, it's all my fault. You all died because of me. I barely restrained myself from hitting the floor with my fist. Rage and guilt bubbled in me. They squeezed my heart so hard, and I couldn't do anything about it. Couldn't bring myself to calm down. All my life I've been told that I should stay where I was born. I was told that I had a huge responsibility on my shoulders, and I was too selfish to accept it. And now the people most dear to me, my parents, had died. In my native village, the place where I grew up, where I spent my whole life, lay in ruins. It was all my fault, and the realization... Get out of my face. It was suffocating me. Cut like a knife. I was scared, but at the same time I understood that nothing could be fixed. How to live on with this guilt. How to live on with... What are you saying, Blitz? I left. The prophecy said that if I left, our village would be destroyed, and here it is. It's all because I ran away like a coward. All because of me. I continued to sob, strangled, but when I looked up into my mother's eye, my mother, afraid to see contempt, accusation, anger in her eyes, all this wasn't there. Mom smiled weakly with blue lips, looked at me with a bleary look. Do you know when it all started, Blitz? When these animals came, and the people got infected and started dying, all Dad and I thought and thanked Mother of Heaven for was that you were not here. That you probably escaped and were now somewhere far away safe. Well, forgive us, darling. I'm sorry that we forced you to live the way you didn't want to. Dad and I are we loved you very much. Promise me you'll remember this forever. No matter what happens, promise me you won't be mad at us anymore. We realized we were wrong, honey. We were really sorry. Mom, what are you saying? Of course I forgive you. I'm not mad at you, Mom. Mom smiled. She squeezed my hands in hers with the last of her strength. My fingers were shaking violently. Good. She whispered the word in a barely audible, hoarse voice, and at that moment her chest, heaving with heavy, slow breaths, stopped. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The smile froze on her lips. She stopped breathing. I jumped up, grabbed her by the shoulders. Mom, no. Mom, wake up, Mom. We'll find a cure. Wake up. Come on. But it was too late. There was no one to save. My throat was filled with sobs again. I couldn't even touch my mom. I couldn't kiss her on the forehead. Goodbye. Somehow, managing myself, I took a blanket and covered her body. Sorry, Mom. I'm sorry it happened. Having said these words, I flew out of the house, and as soon as I was outside, I fell to my knees, right into the dirty ground, wet from the rain, and screamed with all my strength. I screamed until I tore out my throat. I beat the ground with my fists. The world around me was breaking into pieces, into small pieces. Only when I had no strength left, I went limp on the ground. I wanted to visit this place for the last time. For the last time, I remembered walking along these streets, training with Damien, helping my father in the garden. Everything was lost. I had nothing but Juno. And as soon as her name flashed in my head, I jumped from the ground and ran towards the jet. Pixie greeted me and asked if everything was okay. Your condition is unstable, Blitz. It doesn't matter. Take me to Juno. Yes, Blitz. The flight passed for me in a kind of trance. I could only see the face of my mother who had died in my arms. And I blamed myself for her death because I should have been there. I should have come back earlier. What did I do? I ran away like a coward looking for my dream while I had such a responsibility. But it was too late to lament about it. I was enveloped in such rage as I had never experienced before, and it was directed only at one creature. at the cursed anomaly. I was ready to lay down my life to take revenge, to destroy this something, whoever or whatever it was, whoever or whatever created it. Once I was finally in this ship, I flew into Juno's lab. We urgently need to kill this damn anomaly, now. Juno was sitting in her chair. She looked extremely downcast. His shoulders were slumped. His gaze was fixed somewhere on the floor. I jumped up to her and shook her by the shoulders. Juno, we urgently need to destroy this filth. I was shaking all over, but Juno only responded in a lifeless voice. It is impossible. What? How is this impossible? What are you even talking about? Juno continued to look down, her hands on her hips. She looked tired and completely destroyed. What are you talking about, Juno? I couldn't create a cure. Juno looked up at me. These samples, it didn't work out. What we have isn't enough. I'll need more time, a month, 6 months, a year. I don't know. It's not possible right now. Sorry, Blitz. I'm sorry about what happened. I was rushing around the lab. What do you mean impossible? You said we could do it. You said we were halfway to the goal, and now what are you saying? I'm sorry, but I couldn't have known. The attempt failed. I don't know what else to do. I need more time. How much longer? My parents are dead. Everyone is dead. How much more time is needed? Juno looked up at me, startled. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Covered my face with my hands, trying to breathe and not let the tears come to my eyes. Tell me where the anomaly is. You said you knew. I'm going to go destroy the shit, whatever it is. Juno just shook her head she just shook her head at me. Are you crazy, Blitz? I understand your pain, believe me. I understand what it's like to lose dear ones. But you can't rush into the pool with your head like that. We don't know what kind of anomaly it is. You'll just die. You don't even have immunity. Yes, but I don't care about this immunity. I'm going to destroy this thing. Just tell me where it is. I can't. Juno, didn't you hear me? My parents are dead. My whole village, all destroyed. Some were torn apart by wild animals. Others got infected and died. There's no one left. Nothing. Emptiness. I don't care how dangerous it is. I just want to avenge them. I'm ready for anything. Do you hear me? Just tell me where to go. Juno was silent for several minutes, just stared at me in silence, her helmet expressionless, as if she had just blacked out for a few moments. But I know she hadn't, and I was waiting for her answer. Somewhere deep in my soul, behind a tornado of rage and despair, I understood what a difficult, almost insurmountable step for Juno it was. What I pushed her to, sending me, the last survivor, to certain death. The one she was attached to, the one who literally forced her to get attached, begged, stayed by her side, and now I asked to let me go. I knew what she was thinking. I knew that she understood that she was responsible for me, and I was condemning her to a terrible fate to be the only survivor again. But the despair in my gaze was too obvious, too bright. I was like a dying animal. I couldn't stay. Juno, as if seeing from my look that it was useless to dissuade me, that this was my only chance to somehow avenge my parents, silently nodded. She sat there just a few moments, not moving, clutching the arms of the chair, and then a lifeless voice she said, "Pixie, take Blitz where he asks, to the anomaly." "Yes, Juno, Blitz, proceed to the jet." I stood in front of her, not daring to take a single step. Gradually the rage began to ease. My hands clenched into fists, and I wanted to hug her. I wanted to promise that I would come back. But what was the point in making promises that I couldn't keep? After all, I understood that the chance of returning was negligible. But I wanted to take a chance. Though I no longer understood what for, everyone I cared for was dead except Juno. Once she stayed by my side, only she was with me, and I was going to leave her. I was going to leave. Is that what friends do? Is that what lovers do? But I didn't stay. Thank you, Juno. Thank you for everything. Juno didn't say anything, just turned away, not wanting to watch me walk towards the jet as the doors closed behind me. I felt like a double traitor because now I was going to drag Juno again through what happened to her when Toshi died. But I didn't have any choice. If I couldn't save my family, couldn't change the course of things, I wanted to be able to at least avenge them. Even if I die, even if it was the last thing I'd do in life, when Pixie brought me to the indicated place before leaving, I asked, "Pixie, can you give Juno a message in case I don't come back?" I didn't have much of a chance. All I had at my disposal was rage, and I didn't even know what I was going to fight against. Of course, Blitz. What should I tell her? Thought for a couple moments. There was a lot I wanted to say, but I didn't have time for it, and I didn't want Juno to be hurt while she would listen to it. Tell her I love her, and that it wasn't her fault. It will be done, Blitz. Smile at Pixie, even though it couldn't see. Thank you, Pixie. You're a nice helper. Keep an eye on Juno. Of course, Blitz. But I still hope that you will come back. I didn't answer and stepped onto the black earth, dying from the disease. Juno was right. I shouldn't have started all this. Maybe it would have been better if I had just stayed on the ship with her, tried to find a cure, thought about a plan, and then went to take revenge, but it didn't matter now. It was too late to replay. I couldn't turn back time, though I would like to. I was lying on the withered dark grass looking up at the sky. It was incredibly beautiful. Only the sky seemed to be untouched by the disease. Clouds slowly floated overhead. Tilia, with condemnation and sorrow, watched me die. This was expected, of course. What was I thinking? The cave in which the anomaly was hiding glowed bright red and turned out to be overflowing with animals. They were already deeply ill and completely distraught. Therefore, I didn't have a chance to break through. I was just trampled. I could feel my whole body whining in pain. I must have had a good half of my bones broken. There was a taste of blood in my mouth, and a broken nose made it difficult to breathe. But despite this, I still looked up to the sky, admiring the beauty of this world for the last time. Maybe the next life was waiting for me. Maybe there was a Mother of Heaven after all, and there in her village my parents were already waiting for me, waiting for all those who died because of me. The Mother of Heaven will probably be terribly displeased with me. After all, she gave me a task, and I failed it so shamefully. And what would the villagers say? Oh, they'd be furious. They'd have been telling me for so many years that I'd save them, and where was I now? I didn't save anyone, and I couldn't even avenge them. Probably, after all, it wasn't me who should have been the chosen, but Damien. He definitely wouldn't have left his people, not like I did. If fate really existed, if there was a Mother of Heaven in Lit, then they had decided that I was decommissioned material. My destiny was to die like this, here alone, all alone under the weight of unspeakable guilt. What a strange thing fate was, after all. Even when it was predetermined, it could throw up surprises, but it was all my fault. And I was ready to accept punishment with honor. Can't end like that. That's a shitty ending. A measured squeak came to me, as if through a column of water. It was hard to breathe, my body tingled, and my fingers didn't obey. I barely opened my eyes and looked up at the ceiling. There was no sky above me anymore, only dark metal. I tried to call for help, opening my dry lips, but only a wheeze escaped from my mouth. Tears rolled down my temples. It took me a while to figure out what was going on. Where am I? Am I dead? When the control over my body began to slowly return, I got up from the place where I was lying. It turned out to be a bed, quite soft and comfortable. I had some wires attached to my arm, which stretched to a strange device and looked like a box. What the? I somehow swung my feet to the floor and raised my hands rubbing my eyes several times. Where was I? Is this all real? Did you know? My voice was too hoarse to shout. I coughed and breathed greedily. Tears sprang out of my eyes again. Somehow I got up and went to search for Juno. It was her ship. I wouldn't have confused it with anything else. I found Juno at the control panel. She was sitting at the captain's chair, looking out of the huge window at a small planet that seemed even smaller. Or were we just moving on? Juno? Juno turned around when she saw me. She jumped up, froze, not knowing what to do next. She didn't seem to know how to react, what to say. My throat tightened with a spasm and I coughed dryly again. Blitz? Juno finally flew up to me when she was only a meter away from my body. She rushed into my arms, squeezing me tightly, pressing her whole body against me. Oh, how glad I am, Blitz. What happened? How long did I sleep? Juno pulled away from me, her gaze sad and gloomy. For a long time. I swallowed. How long? Juno looked guilty for some reason. A month? Sorry, Blitz. What? I looked around as if there might be some clues in my memory. My last moments are preserved only in fragments. I licked my dry lips and noticed a bottle of wort. Immediately picked it up and took a greedy sip. My fingers trembled even more. What happened? I remember dying, I think. I don't know if this is really true or is it a dream. I found you at the cave with the anomaly. You were badly hurt. Took you away. You were still breathing. But then it turned out that you were infected. So sorry, Blitz. I've been working all month trying to do everything in my power. I haven't left your side. But I did it. There's a cure. But it only helped you. Forgive me. Forgive you? Are you kidding me, Juno? You saved my life. Thank you. I'll be forever in your debt. Juno gave me a crooked smile with her but her whole body still expressed an extreme degree of sadness and guilt, so I went over and took her hand. Really, Juno, it's not your fault. You saved me. Juno sobbed. I shouldn't have let you go. How stupid I am. Why did I just tell you about this damn alarm? Why did I just tell you about this damn anomaly? I should have kept silent. I should have just lied because of me. You were on the verge of death. It's all my fault. I grabbed her by the shoulders and pulled her to me. It's not true, Juno. Believe me, it's not. I would have gone there anyway. I don't know how, but at that moment I felt such rage, such injustice, but I didn't think about anything. You only helped me. Don't blame yourself. It's all my fault. Juno pulled away from me, her helmet expression only sadness. What is your fault, Blitz? I chuckled and shrugged my shoulders. I've not fulfilled my destiny. I've disobeyed the elders, disobeyed my parents. I wanted to live for myself, but is it possible? Is it right to live for yourself when you're responsible for so many people? I should have realized this earlier, but I was too stupid, too selfish. I wanted everything to revolve around me. I wanted to put my own interests above others. And what did all this result in? Juno looked at me blankly. Do you really think that you're to blame for everything that happened? Of course. Who else? As soon as I left, the virus didn't appear as soon as you left, and even if so, how could you stop the anomaly? Juno was looking at me with her head tilted to the side, as if she really couldn't figure out what I was talking about. I don't know. Maybe it just wouldn't have got to us if I had stayed. It would have gotten to you anyway, Blitz. While I was synthesizing the cure, I learned something about the anomaly. As I suspected, it was created artificially, and it is programmed specifically for your planet. I suspect that each planet had its own anomaly. But back then, I thought it was all the same. Wait, what? Juno smiled sadly. You couldn't stop it, Blitz. Believe me, it was impossible. It would have happened anyway, but you would have died too if you had stayed in your village. So to some extent, your selfishness, or whatever you call it, saved you. I bit my lip from the inside, feeling how fast my heart was beating, how everything in my chest was bubbling with disbelief and injustice. Why? Why did I escape? Why would someone need to send an anomaly to our planet? What does it all mean? Juno shrugged her shoulders. I don't know. But maybe you were saved for some more important purpose. I looked at Juno, my heart beating as fast as my chest, aching profusely, painfully contracting. What are we going to do now? Juno looked away. Don't know, sorry, but your planet, no one survived. Last time I was hit there, the whole area was infected. I'm sorry, Blitz, you're the only survivor. Oh, look how tall she is! This news caused confusion and fear in my soul. I couldn't believe everything that had happened to me. But maybe Juno was right. Maybe I really survived for some higher purpose, much more important. Maybe by fate, my fate wasn't over yet. My destiny was just ahead. Or maybe it was all just a fairy tale and there was no destiny. No mission, it was all just a coincidence. Which turned out to be so easy to believe. Now I could no longer know this. There was no one left who would challenge my words, who would tell me how to do the right thing. The flow of my thoughts was interrupted by a bright, colorful explosion. Juno and I turned to the window, and the planet that was my home, on which my parents' bodies were left, shattered into tiny pieces, drowning in the red light of the anomaly. I couldn't make a sound. All my words seemed to get stuck in my throat. Juno and I watched the whole world, though a small one, disintegrate into fragments, dying. Despite how bravely it fought, my heart stopped for a moment. My whole life flashed before my eyes: childhood, youth, parents' faces, villagers' smiles, the beauty of nature, its diversity, its uniqueness. None of this existed anymore. Oh, that's even better. Oh, the hand holding. Oh. I reached out and squeezed Juno's hand in mine. A single salty tear rolled down my cheek. I was saying goodbye to my home, to my family, and to my past life. To the elders, to the neighbors, even to Damien, who, although he was never my friend, still didn't deserve such a fate. I promise I will avenge your planet, Blitz, no matter what it costs me. I will do everything, but I will take revenge on those who did this to your house. Juno squeezed my hand tightly. In response, I felt the warmth coming from the contact of our palms. Juno is all I had left, and I was glad that she was there. She was on my side. She saved me, and I was eternally grateful to her. I was forever in her debt, and I was ready to give everything if only she would never regret her choice in life. Thank you, Juno. Will you take me with you? I was afraid to hear her answer. On one hand, I had nothing else to go, but on the other, I wanted to stay with her, not because I couldn't go anywhere else, but because my home no longer existed, but because that was my destiny, the one I chose for myself. To be with Juno, to spend as much time with her as I was allowed to, and to avenge my home, for my family, mom and dad, for my neighbors, for every bit of flora and fauna. Of course, Blitz. We watched the fragments of the planet fly through space as the ship sailed further into the darkness. A game by Dirty Fox Games. Oh! Follow Fox! Hell yes! Art by Zod. Music by NED.Load. Special thanks to Ann Bear. Thank you for playing. I was that close to the end and I never finished it until now. Last time I played was in November. Well, that was My Furry Protogen. That game was amazing. The game was tons of fun. I should have finished it a lot sooner because My Furry Protogen 2 is out. And when I get the funds and stuff like that, I am going to play it as well. And again, I don't care what people say and stuff like that. I did not start playing this because I haven't even watched Rails playing this yet. And I'm not going to watch Rail play. I'm going to watch him play this one now that I finished it. But I'm not going to watch him play My Furry Protogen 2 until I play that one. Because these games are really cool and I don't want any spoilers. I mean, yeah, I know I've seen screenshots and some stuff that Rails posted on Twitter. Or X, whatever you want to fucking call it. But I've seen some stuff that he's posted and stuff like that. Apparently Juno has a sister. And she's going to be in the second one. That's going to be interesting. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. But I mean, it's cool seeing all Rails content and stuff like that. And it's cool seeing stuff like that. And I really do wish I could do some more stuff with Rail in the future and get some more patron events and stuff like that. But at the same time, since he reached out and asked me not to do stuff like that, I'm going to respect his wishes and not do it. But at the same time, it's like, I made a mistake and I apologize for it. But at the same time, I'm a content creator like everybody else and like he is. And, he's a really cool guy. He's really nice. He's really interesting. Yeah, some of the stuff he does irks me, but at the same time, we're all people. We all irk each other occasionally. And yeah, I made a mistake and I will cop to it. But like I say, I've just been so damn busy. I haven't had a chance to do any of his Patreon events and actually try and get into any of these meetups with him and hang out and try and get to know him a little bit more and try and, talk to him and some more people in his community. I've just been so super damn busy. But that's going to do it for My Furry Protogen. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed yet, feel free to do so. It's free to do on this platform. If you want to check out any of my Patreon stuff, if it even still exists, if it's still up, I don't know. I have to check and see if I ever got that damn email from them to confirm that I'm okay with the changes and stuff like that. That way it's still up. So, I mean, it's really cheap. I tried to go with the cheapest tier that you guys can go for in order to see uncensored stuff, like My Furry Protogen video that came up that had a bunch of naughtiness in it. It's on the Patreon. Some Changeling Tail stuff that's fairly naughty since YouTube banned one of my thumbnails and I had to redo the thumbnail. I don't know. It's really stupid. But that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Hey, and peace. Watch out.